Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Courtside with Beilinson Tennis, part of the Tennis Channel Podcast Network. We are privileged to have with us on a former All-American from the University of Illinois. He was the #1 ranked junior in tennisrecruiting.net coming out of high school. He won a state championship as a sophomore, going 32-0 before opting out of high school tennis and playing on the national scene. He played on the Pro Tour for several years and had a career-high singles ranking of 345. He's now working outside of the tennis industry, which we will touch on in a second. But please welcome to the pod, Dennis Nevolo. Dennis, thank you for taking some time today, walking us through your journey, man.
Yeah, Dave, thank you so much. I don't get to talk about my tennis journey too often. I think about it a lot, but I don't get to do a lot of interviews like this. This is neat for me, and I appreciate you having me on here.
Hey, man, well, you got a ton of great experiences, so we're gonna hit on some of those experience in a bit. But as I mentioned, you're now working outside of the tennis industry. You're in the commercial real estate field. Why don't you give a heads up to everyone who hasn't heard from you in a little while, and talk about how you get into that, and give some details on what you're currently doing.
Yeah, so currently what I do, I work for a company called Bespoke Commercial Real Estate. We're located at 444 North Michigan Avenue, looking over the Wrigley Building. So I'm spoiled. I got a nice office space that I'm working in. Really help businesses to ensure that they're getting the best economic deal with regards to their lease terms. So something totally different, something I thought maybe, don't know if I ever thought I'd be pitching myself as a real estate broker, but it's been a really unique experience so far. Obviously, it's a crazy time right now for a lot of different industries, but I got into it because basically when I was coaching, I was kind of trying to find myself. I had actually met with a lot of people that are in the commercial real estate industry, and they're all people that I really like being around. They were smart, they were fun to be around. It seemed like good culture people. And I thought, okay, let's try to give this a shot. And I left Orlando and was in Chicago and got my real estate license and interviewed with a lot of different firms. And tennis is a big part of the reason why I was able to land the job that I got. My mom's accountant said, hey, I got this tennis buddy. He wants to get in the tennis industry. Will Dennis talk to him? And essentially what I did, I said, yeah, I'll talk to him. I'll try to help him out. And he said, hey, what are you up to now? And connected me with my boss, Peter Billmeyer at Bespoke. Peter's wife was actually a top 4 player in the country in college. She played for Vanderbilt, and respected my resume and what I had accomplished, and gave me a shot. So tennis, I guess, helped me out in the end. So
Awesome, for sure, man. It'll never leave you, no matter what you do. So let's kind of start back from the beginning. I mean, you have an interesting family dynamic. There's actually one other person I know who I work with, he's the father, and he has 2 sets of twins. Now, you have a twin. You also have 2 older siblings that are also twins. So very interesting, pretty rare. Now, I know Jeff is not your twin. He's older. He's into tennis. He's coaching at SMU, the women's team. Talk
Yes.
a little bit about your family background. If was it just you and Jeff that started to play? Did your parents play? How'd you get into all this?
Yeah, so it's funny. I don't actually remember the first time that I played, but apparently my older brother and my dad went to the courts, and I guess I was hooked. I hit with them once, and it was like, man, this was the coolest experience I've ever had. And but one thing I do remember is that after I played, I was obsessively hitting tennis balls against my garage for 4 or 5 hours a day. So I definitely found an obsession and a passion probably around, I was probably 6 years old. So it was a no-brainer that I was going to play tennis. And it's not that I didn't try to play other sports, but when I played baseball, I thought, I'm sitting around half the game. I was the kind of guy that needed that constant activity, and tennis was that release for me. So my twin brother did not like sports, so we were about as opposite as they come. but he's very gifted in other areas. It could be architecture. He's an amazing dancer. So he's a little bit more artistic than I was. There's different interests. And then my sister, she swam. She didn't really like tennis, but she's doing an excellent job. She's in Dallas as well. So we all have different interests, and I'd say we're all doing pretty well. So
how old is Jeff? And that would be your sister, right? How old are they? How much older are they than you?
so they're about 4 years older.
Okay,
4 years
gotcha.
older. So yeah, as soon as they left college, my twin and I re-entered. So
Got it. You just missed. All right, so let's talk about your junior career, which was phenomenal. You went to Warren Township High School. You played high school tennis freshman and sophomore year. You played for anyone, and I'm a Chicago guy. Anyone involved in high school tennis knows your coach, the legendary coach Greg Cohn. You were the 2006 IHSA state singles champion. You went 32-0, first team All-State. Obviously, you were a national high school All-American. You earned a top 10 USTA ranking in every junior age group. You were the 2005 Junior Player of the Year. 2007, you made the finals appearances in the USTA International and national levels 3 different times. You won the 2007 USTA National Open in Tampa, Florida. I can go on and on here. You won a big title with Bradley Klon, who played at Stanford and is still competing on the Pro Tour. You also, I know, had a funny experience you want to share in one of the years in Kalamazoo. So there's a lot to unpack here. I'm just going to let you roll with it and talk about some of those cool highlights you had.
yeah, it's funny. I'm one of those people that I've never really been obsessed with my accolades at all. I'm one of those guys that I really just love to play tennis. Like I said, when I was 6, I was bashing balls against my garage. So when you bring up a lot of these, these events and things, they're obviously, I would say a few that stick out would be that 18 Spring Nationals where, Bradley and I won doubles. I believe I beat Bradley in the finals of that tournament as well. So, I mean, look, it always feels good to win a national tournament and feel like your hard work is paying off. But I would say the fact that I won, 12's hard courts and then was able to continue to win national tournaments in the 18s, I think that just kind of shows that I was a pretty good tennis talent and I was able to win at pretty much every level. So now as far as Kalamazoo goes, it's funny, that match with Meister is interesting because it was the first time that I had cramped in a match, and I'm on stadium court, center court of Kalamazoo. I got Mark Bays in the crowd, cheering me on, trying to get me through this match. And there was some drama, obviously. So I'm on the ground. My hamstring is fully locked up. I can't move. And I'm just thinking, how the heck am I going to play? And the adrenaline is just pure. When you have a major muscle cramp like that, your adrenaline is just pumping. And I remember I got up. It was near the end of the match, and I basically had tanked my service game, and then I just kind of slapped away and was able to win that match against my good buddy. And that was just such an awesome feeling. There's nothing that puts you in the present moment like cramping and actually getting through a match, and to kind of experience that at 15 with a big crowd, a lot of people watching. It was something that I had forgotten. So it's cool that we did this interview because I remember that. And then the funny thing is that 10 years later, I ended up playing Nicholas Meister as a Bakersfield, like a $25,000 future. And we're both around 300 in the world. We're trying to break through. We're both kind of at the tail ends of our career. And I'm in the third set, and what do you know? I'm cramping again 10 years later. So it's like some things just, never change. I think he got me back once, but I was able to win that match as well. And just little things like that. You go, what are the odds that I'd be playing this guy 10 years later in a $25,000 tournament? Same amount of passion, same, still cramping, still grinding through it, and little things like that. I go, that's kind of cool. So
yeah, obviously, fun for you to share that with us. And again, you had such a cool junior career. Jumping to college now, obviously, with your stellar junior career, you had a lot lot of colleges wanting you to play for them. As schools such as Ohio State, Kentucky, North Carolina, Alabama, and Florida. We all know you wound up at Illinois. Being from here, obviously played it's got to be a big advantage to the home school trying to get you to play. Was being close to home really what won it out for you? Again, you had all those great schools coming after you.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting thing. I think initially I always thought I wanted to go to a Florida school. I wanted better weather. And I think when I noticed, when I was getting older, I didn't really love playing in the heat. I don't love humid conditions. And I think there were just certain things that, I thought when I was 15 or 16, University of Florida was after me pretty hard. I loved the city of Miami at that age. I thought, oh man, that'd be so cool to play at Coral Gables. What a nice facility they have. And then as time went on, it's funny, kind of when I tell my students that I work with now, when we're going to go on these visits, a lot of it really comes down to feel. How do you feel with the guys that are on the team? Do you feel like the coach? Are you going to enjoy being with that coach for almost every single day of your college experience? And I think you leave visits with a feeling of like, that really felt like home, or that really felt right. And I saw the passion from Brad, and we had an assistant coach at the time who's done great at Alabama, is George Husak. And it's like, man, these are great guys. They really, they're super ambitious. I saw, how calculated their practices were. And at the time, we had Kevin Anderson that just came out of school, and he was tearing it up on the Pro Tour. And we still had a top, at the time, I think we were top, coming off a finals NCAA run. We were still, we were neck and neck with Ohio State. And it was really, it just felt right. And I have friends that are always asking, students that I coach, I go, what should I do? Is this coach better than this coach? And I say, a lot of these coaches, they're all amazing guys. They're, if you've been doing this for 15, 20 years, you're obviously doing something right. And, see how you get along with the team, see how it feels. And, at the end of the day, you kind of have to go with what your heart says. And I'm fortunate that I got lucky. I mean, it worked out for me, and Brad's obviously done an amazing job with the program, and they're still going strong. So no regrets, man.
Yeah, I think that's good life advice. When you got so many good choices, right? To go with your gut, man, you're not going to go wrong with any of those choices, because like you said, wherever you picked, it was going to be good.
Yeah.
But then at the end of the day, just go with your gut, man. It's a good problem to have. Those are good, tough choices to have throughout life. So obviously it worked out with you, Dennis. I mean, freshman year, Big Ten Freshman of the Year, saw action at top 3 spots in singles. Sophomore year, you're all Big Ten selection. You finished second on the team with 27 wins, playing primarily at number 1. Your junior year, you earned your first career All-American honor, reaching the round of 16 at the NCAAs. You were in unanimous first-team All-Big Ten selection. You twice that year defeated the nation's top-ranked player, Tennessee's John Patrick Smith and Ryan Williams. You reached a career-high ranking of number 7 nationally. Your senior year, you earned your second career All-American honor, reached a career-high number 2 in the national singles rankings. Again, reached a round of 16 in both the singles and doubles in the NCAAs. Obviously had a great college experience. Any matches, any moments, any good comments about head coaches, assistant coaches you want to throw out there?
You forgot. I finaled the national indoors. Don't forget that.
Yeah, sorry about that. There's so many, man. I can't read everything. We don't have enough time.
Matches that stick out. So I'd say in college, having that pressure of, you've got all your teammates and you're playing with your best friends, and, you're playing in front of your home crowd, and the last thing that you want to do is lose. You want everyone to be happy. You want to ride that wave. And I think the most stressful time in college tennis is when, if it's, you have a tied match at 3-3. And I would say, I think it was my junior year, I was playing the number 1 player from Florida at the time. And it came down to us. There I am on court 1, and, if you've ever been to an Illinois tennis match, we get a solid crowd. And so, everyone's watching you. And in the second set, I ended up losing in a tiebreaker. And I think Alex had hit like 5 aces. And this guy just played absolutely lights out in this tiebreaker. And now I've got to play an entire set in front of everybody in Atkins. And I was able to, I just remember I just had a lot of adrenaline. I got into a zone. I think he got a little tight. And I had some of my best friends cheering me on. They were playing different instruments, they're banging drums. And it was just one of those atmospheres in college tennis that you can't really get anywhere else. I guess maybe, obviously it's not like playing I'm sure it's not like playing in Arthur Ashe, but it's that rowdy environment that is very hard to replace. And I ended up winning 6-0 and clinched. And it was just one of those moments that, you're just never going to forget. And that to me was probably, my highlight. It was just, early match of the season, but just you get put in that environment. And
let me ask you about that. Let me ask you about that with being a last match on, because I've talked to a few people about this. Does your mind all of a sudden get like very quiet? Do you kind of block out that noise, or are you hearing everything? Again, you're on your home court, so they're all behind you. In between points, are you just solely focused on you and what Brad is telling you to do? Or do you hear the crowd? Do things slow down? Do things speed up? Does your adrenaline be going 100 miles an hour? Kind of describe that moment.
Well, look, I think that, every experience is different. And fortunately, in that experience, I thought he got a little bit nervous. And I thought there's just absolutely, you kind of, the adrenaline kicks in and you're literally only, the tennis ball becomes a beach ball and you are only focused on that. You don't want any distractions. You will literally do whatever it takes to win a match. And I've seen that happen, whether it's our 6 guy or whether, at any level. I think every tennis player can kind of share that, or really any sport can share that level of you're in the zone. And it's when I feel like the adrenaline and the pressure ends up working, I guess, in your favor. And you just feel like, I don't think I missed a ball that whole set. So
awesome. No, it's great to hear you guys talk about what it's like at that moment, because it is very unique. Something like you said, you really can't match even when you play on the higher stages on the professional tour, because you just don't have that team atmosphere behind you. So let's jump into that transition a bit. Competing in college versus competing on the professional tour. Obviously, it's definitely a major transition. You played professionally for 6 years, and you had some real good success, especially at the Futures and Challenger level. You won 6 doubles titles, 2 singles titles. What were the main differences between the level when you were competing at college versus competing on the pro tour?
I think the pro tour, the biggest difference is in college, I feel like I could win strictly with my talent. Like I was going to beat 95% of the players because I was a better ball striker or because I was faster. Eventually you get on the tour where anybody between, I'd say, 150 to 450 in the world, you could say they're just as athletic as me. Maybe they hit the ball just as well as I do. So what's going to separate me and allow me to be more consistent than the rest of the pack? And it forced me I had to think a little bit more outside the box when I played pro tennis. So I would say that was a huge, and everyone has that transition where, guys that maybe dominated in college, that first year or two on tour, they're trying to figure out how to, how to be just more successful and more consistent. So that I actually liked. I like that chase of kind of trying to figure out how to take my ranking from 800 to 400, from 400 to 300 to I like that.
Let me just throw this in there too, Dennis. This is the first time where your type of level of player is losing early every week. You at your level, you've been the star, man, since you've basically
Yeah.
first started playing competitively and mentally. I think a lot of guys, they've never experienced it, right? And you're losing first or second round every single week. These guys have never, ever experienced that in their life.
Yeah. I think I love tennis so much that I actually liked that initial learning process of, kind of dissecting, hey, why are these matches not going my way? Or I was supposed to win that match, but what broke down? Was it physical? Was there something? Was it a strategical issue? Was it, could I have made better decisions? And then after a couple years on tour, I would say those kinds of losses, those experiences, they really simplify the game, and they really simplify what your niche is. And then you kind of have to chase, eventually you're now chasing an identity. Like, okay, if I want to be a guy that's top 100, I'm going to have to, my fitness numbers are going to have to be this. My ball control is going to have to be this. And so it becomes less about, I'm just going to go out and compete and fight. And now it's more like, I better own these parts of my game, or else it's gonna, you're just not gonna be able to make it. So it's tough, very tough. I'd say by the end of it, if you don't meet that identity, it's brutal. It's tough to say, man, I put all this energy in it and I maybe not quite where I want it to be. But I shouldn't take away from, all the great things that I did as well.
For sure.
I wish the pro circuit was a little bit more of a team environment. That's what I loved about college tennis. That was one of the things that I missed when I was on tour, that accountability of, you're playing with your friends and, everyone's in it together. And pro tennis it's a grind. You're on your own a lot of the time. You don't have two coaches with you. You don't have 6 of your best friends with you. And it's definitely more of a grind in that sense.
No, for sure. Thank you for sharing that insight. Really appreciate that. And let's talk about a couple highlights in your pro career. I know you really enjoyed playing the Winnetka Challenger for several years. You did have some nice crowds for those matches, you being literally 25 minutes away where you grew up from Winnetka. You also played a guy that people may have heard about, Sasha Zverev. Took him to, not a lot of people can say you took him 7-5 in the third in a match. When you and I were talking, we're prepping for this, you said you had chances and should have won that match. You did play him 1 year later. It was a little bit more one-sided in Sasha's favor, but you played guys like Denis Shapovalov. You played guys like Tennis Sangren, Francis Tiafoe. When you played the Zverevs, the Shapovalovs, the Tiafos, did you know these guys were special? I mean, even when you played Sasha very tight, 7-5 in the third that first time, were you aware of his name? Did you know he was going to be a superstar?
It's funny because obviously I'm playing these guys when they're on their come up, right? So me going 3 sets with Zverev at 16 was, I remember what I told you is that at 17, he was a completely different player than what he was at 16. So I felt like I should have beaten him that day. I thought I got a little passive, and, I could tell that he was very, very good, but I still felt like, what, he's 16, I'm 24. I'm not going to lose to this kid that's 16. I'm pretty good at this too. And I think I was up maybe 3-0 in the third. I don't know if it was 5. I thought I lost 6-3. I don't know if that score was correct, but I just remember that match slipped away like that. And I thought, geez, how did I let that happen? But I thought, okay, this guy's, he got some game. I think he lost the next round to one of my buddies, Ed Corey. He's a great player, played for Texas. And I thought, okay, yeah, this guy was pretty good. And there's a famous coach there, a very well-known coach. I forget what his name was, but he goes, man, that guy's going to be top 10 in the world. And I thought, he was really good. I didn't know if he was going to be top 10. And then when I played him a year later, I thought that is maybe the best tennis player I've ever played. So just within a year, I went from thinking that I should beat the guy to feeling almost helpless on the court. It's just like there was just nowhere safe to hit the ball, and his margins were so high, and he's just bashing the ball, and his serve was it was like it was bouncing over my head. I'm like, who is this guy? You know, I felt so that's when I knew that he was special. I didn't think he was that incredible at 16, but at 17, I was like, okay, this guy's he's gonna make it.
Let me ask you. Let me interject here for a second, because we talk about there are so many levels in the sport, and
Yeah,
you played this guy at 16 and you were right there. You play him a year later and you see there's an obvious jump. How deflating is it to we're talking about you in this situation, but we can go generally. How deflating is it to that individual where, damn, you're pretty freaking good. If you're top 300 in the world, you're
yeah.
amazing at whatever you do. And then you see a guy like this and you're like, wow, there are multiple levels that I still have to get to play this type of tennis.
It's tough because, obviously, he's in the top of the world. So what is he, top 5? He's probably going to win a Grand Slam. It's weird because, the next match he beat a guy that was 100 in the world, 6-1, 6-0. So it wasn't like you just go in, he's just a freak, there's going to be freaks out there. I don't think you need to be that good to have a successful professional career. But, there are other guys that have done exceptionally well that I played tight. I played pretty closely. But I would say, yeah, when you play as Zverev, when I played Goffin, it was like, I felt like I got hit by a truck. I mean, it was like, this guy is like me, but he's faster. We play a long point and he runs up to the line like nothing happened. And then he serves 120. And it's like, how the heck am I going to beat this guy? It's just a different level of athletic. That top 10, they're top 10 for a reason. They don't lose, and if I lost to Goffin, he beat 42 guys in a row after me. So it wasn't like I'm the only guy he's crushing. But yeah, it's a little deflating. It was definitely deflating losing to young guys. It's funny, my dad would always say, God, your record against these young guys is terrible. I'm like, well, 6, losing to Francis Tiafoe really is not a bad loss. And that's the thing about tennis is just, it doesn't matter how old you are. It's just what do you bring to the table? And whatever. I mean, I look back and I go, okay, I've got winning records against whatever, Tommy Paul. I've got, Jason Jung's done incredibly well. I was 3 for 4 against him. And the time I lost, the ref missed a call. There's guys that are 100 in the world that I'd say, there's a lot of guys between 100 and 200 that I, had good, solid winning records against. But I would say that there's a dramatic difference between top 10 and, 80 to 200. And it's just, there's just different animal. Kevin Anderson, you play, you go, I can't return a serve. He's 6'8". He's returning, he's got great return. How do you really compete with that? And there's a reason why they're there. But no, it's interesting.
I appreciate it, man. It's so cool hearing your insight on this stuff.
Yeah, Shapovalov as well. Just super, that was a guy I played. I go, this guy's going to make it. I was 25. I'm like, you're serving cannons at 18. Your backhand you're basically hitting through my forehand. I mean, you're unpredictable, but you kind of know. You get a weird feeling. You go, that was, this guy's, they're just a little bit different. So it was cool to play those guys for sure.
It's so crazy, like you said, and I've heard it a million times. That difference between 10 and 80 or 10 and 100 is pretty big. But then once you go 100 to 400, it's nothing. Or I mean, it's so small.
Maybe they're a little more durable. I feel like I could win sets. There are certain guys. Obviously, there are guys that were 80 to 150 consistently that you'd say, okay, they were better than me. They're just more consistent. They had a few more athletic gifts than I did. They're a little more durable. But I still feel like I could compete with those guys.
Right.
The top 10, it was like, how long have I been on the court? I mean, it's just
different animal, man. Totally different animal.
There's no room to breathe. You just feel like you're being suffocated out there. And that's what makes them unique. It's fun to watch them. That's what makes it fun to watch too. I mean, they're just incredible talent, incredible athletes. And I still enjoy going on YouTube and watching some of those guys and say, hey, I played against those guys, and kind of see how they play against Federer or how they play against Nadal. And
what I was going to say, super cool. You talk about suffocating tennis. We could even go up at another level and say, this is how the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th guy in the world feel when they play against the top 3. I mean, that's its own
Yeah.
separate animal. Those top
It's,
3 are there should never be in any sport, the difference between the top 3 versus the 4th, 5th, and 6th guy should never be
yeah.
that wide of a margin. And what these top 3 guys have done, and create that space between the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and down the line is just ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
It's insane to watch. They're, even watching Djokovic recently, it's like he's an absolute wall at 4-all, 30-all. I mean, you're gonna bet for Djokovic. He's not gonna get tired. Keeps the ball low. You can't really hurt him. He can do everything. It's just they mastered the sport and they're just a little bit more athletic than everybody else. And it's unique, definitely unique to see. When Sampras retired, it was like, man, I don't think anyone's gonna ever play like Sampras. Now we've had these 3 guys that have just made him almost look normal. It's crazy. So
it is crazy. So when you were done playing, we noticed that you did some coaching, and which is often a natural transition with someone at your skill level and having as much success as you had. You did some coaching. I know you helped your brother out a little bit at SMU. Was coaching something that you initially thought you may have wanted to do for a long career, or was it something that, okay, I know I'm good at this, I know I can share and offer some pretty good knowledge here while I kind of figure out what I want to do with the rest of my life?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit more of the latter. I mean, I think when I stopped playing, I just turned 28, and I was kind of like, there's that element when you've had a single goal. I feel like I kind of had a single goal my entire life, and I was constantly chasing, becoming a better tennis player, and I'm chasing points, and I'm trying to climb this ranking to, what is my goal now? What is that next step? And everybody in life has that kind of time where, they're trying to basically kind of find themselves. And I'd say for me, naturally, I felt like I had a lot to offer with tennis, with my experiences, with my knowledge, that it was a bit of a no-brainer to jump into it right away, especially if I don't really know what I want to do next. And I had the opportunity to basically help out my older brother in South Carolina, help out the women's team there. And I think at the time we had an unbelievable run. I think we were like 10-0 in the SEC, and we were, good spirits, and it was really, really a great experience to kind of ride that wave. And my older brother, he's done such an exceptional job at the college level. He's been such a great leader. He's got so much passion. He's got a lot of momentum. So for me at that stage to be around him and to be around a program that was really supportive, I would say was an excellent decision. With that being said, I felt like I kind of needed to maybe take my own path, go on my own path a little bit, kind of just get away. And I decided to go to Orlando, and had some clients there, and I started my own basically private tennis academy. I had no overhead. I was at public courts, but I had a great group of players, and met a lot of great people in that community, and was able to ask a lot of questions, meet with a lot of people, and they kind of helped me basically try to navigate. As much as I helped them, I was able to kind of find a path to at least try to navigate outside of tennis as well. And as much as I love tennis, and I still think about tennis, I still play tennis, a solid amount. I think it was time for me to just take a break and try something new, and kind of go on a new chase. I think I realized I loved playing tennis, at least at that time, a lot more than coaching. And people change in life. Maybe in 5-6 years, I go, man, I really miss tennis, or you never know. So I always keep my options open. But nothing but positive vibes for that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, just to clarify, you helped your brother at South Carolina, then he recently moved over to SMU, and he's doing
so he's at SMU. And he's taken over that program, well deserved. South Carolina, they did an unbelievable job. They've been ranked, top 10 for many years, and I'm just super excited for him. Everywhere he goes, whether it's on the men's side or the women's side, there's something about my older brother, man. People like my brother.
Well,
you know,
so I will say this, Dennis, before we wrap up. I mean, I know your full-time occupation right now is outside the tennis industry, but with all that you have to offer, I know you still enjoy hitting a lot, but I hope you never get tennis out 100% out of your life, which I don't think you will. And you'll always be able to offer your expertise, share your experiences, whether it's hitting with friends or whether it's helping some juniors out navigate their path. You have so much to offer. So
yeah.
again, before we conclude, I just hope you always have that in your life, and you'll always offer that up.
Yeah, absolutely. Tennis gave me a lot. I've had, multiple coaches that have, helped me a lot through a lot of different stages of my life. And whether it be, a kid trying to make his high school team, or a kid that's asking me questions about, different colleges and how we should go about the process, I'm always willing to give up my knowledge and help any way I can. It'd be selfish for me not to try to, pass along any of that knowledge. And like I say, I'm currently at East Bank Club, still trying to coach, part-time when I can, and still trying to play, on a weekend if I can get a set or two in for fun to kind of, relive the kind of leisurely side of the game. I'm all for it. So yeah, super thankful for the opportunities, and if I can continue to help anybody in the tennis community, that's what I'm going to try to do. So
awesome, Dennis. Thank you so much, man. This was fun. It was truly insightful. I appreciate you sharing your time and experiences. And hey, man, best of luck going forward. This was fun.
Yeah, thanks, David. I appreciate it. It's fun to talk about. Thanks so much.
Talk to you soon. Bye.
Yeah.